Okay. I said go live to it. So,
It hasn't done on this side yet. I don't know if it actually makes you wait until. Oh, there we go.
we're good?
Yep.
Cool. All right. I was meaning to bring my iPad up because I would see if there was an alert that popped up. I don't know if people who subscribe will get alerts or how that all works.
Yeah, the people who are subscribed should be able to.
Okay, cool. Um, Surely there's a way I can see who's popping in.
On my screen, I could see the chat box on the right side of the screen. I don't know what it looks like for
Okay, yeah, I got it up. No views. We got no pressure right now.
you. This will be saved though, so unless you can edit it later, which I don't know if you can do, it's all going to be out there.
Yeah, that's all right. It notified me. Okay. Bobby Walters, welcome in.
Thank you, Bobby. You're the first.
I mean, this is a big milestone for Bobby. This is the first ever live. Okay, Mitch, nice. Got the notification. The title probably says 9 o'clock, and people are getting these notifications. I don't know if I put the actual time in. So the plan for this is really we have no plan. Boomer Bets reached out to me through an email and said, "Hey, join your content." And I think we align a lot in the way we view sports betting and the community of sports bettors. And we just kind of chatted through email a little bit. And we said, why don't we just get on here, do a little live show, a little Q&A. People can ask any questions they want about sports betting, about, heck, maybe even the bowling pins behind Boomer Bets here. Whatever. Whatever you guys want to do. Okay, mine says, warning, the stream something. I'm getting a little alert on here. Oh, bit rates. That's above my pay grade.
Too slow? Something's too slow, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know if it's, yeah, it could be. But are you able to see it fine on your end?
I do. It seems to be a little lagged on the video, though.
Okay. Okay. That's something to keep in mind. So if anybody is here and has any questions whatsoever, if you have a bad beat story, that is the most recent topic on my channel. Share your bad beats, which it seems like everybody has a story. You got one?
I got to start with one if you'd like.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is back in the days just starting out. I had learned the lesson of what happens when you bet on a heavy favorite. I would title that as the story title. I had seen a bet that was about minus 2,000 for a tennis match, in which the person had already won the first set and was up 2-0 in the second set. And I said to myself, "Oh, look, easy money. It's minus 2,000, but if I put down $1,000, get $50 back. Seems pretty easy." So I put $1,000 down. This is back in the days where I wasn't limited anywhere, and started to watch the game. And he actually won one more game, so now he was up 3-0.
Wow.
Like this piece of cake. And then it's 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. I'm going after 3-3, and I'm watching. I'm be able to see this on a feed, so I can see what's going on. And it looks like, well, maybe after 3-3, he's just going to take it easy. So he's resting up for the third set. It was
Right.
2 out of 3. So he drops that set 6-3, and then the third set starts, and he drops the first game and then the second game. And now I'm thinking, how the hell do I get out of this? And I'm looking for any kind of hedge that I can do anywhere. There's nothing.
Right.
The sports books just go, no, we're not taking anything the other way. And I sat there and watched him drop the next 3 more games, and he lost, dropping 12 straight games from taking like the first 9,
Yep.
and $1,000 went down the drain. So
Now, does that affect you for the rest of the day? Like, what happens to you after that? Because for me, I take those hard. Are you able to just chalk it off, learn a lesson, and move on, or are you
since
hurting?
it was early in my betting studies, no, I took it pretty hard. I think anybody would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, the lesson learned is something is a heavy favorite doesn't mean it's a lock.
Indeed. Yeah. I have some of those as well. I mean, I don't have any that just ring true like the ones I've covered recently on the channel, but I know I've put some. I mean, I think what I used to do, which was ridiculous, and I think it's very common, and you see this all the time online, especially people post afterwards, is they're trying to make their parlays and they hit the minus 110s and then they throw in the minus 750 and that's the leg that loses. It's like, what are you getting out of that, really?
Actually, interesting thing about that, I did the math on doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you were to, let's say you throw in a negative 750 bet to increase your parlay a little bit. If you do the math, if you had just bet that straight minus 750, you would have get the same result. If you then hedge that the other way.
Yeah.
You might as well just bet the minus 750. You end up with the same math.
Yep. Yep. And that's another thing that I haven't really covered on this channel, but I try to tell people if it comes up, is the whole idea of, I think there's times, well, first of all, parlays, probably not the best idea long term anyway for your bankroll, but when people do this, I'm going to parlay something from today and then I'm going to throw in something from tomorrow, and then it's like, well, I've won today's bet. Do I cash out? Do I hedge? Do I let it ride? It's like, if you focus on one day at a time, then you can roll over any winnings to the next day. And if you're too scared to put your winnings on that the next day, then don't add it into the parlay for today, for tomorrow. So that happens all the time in NFL, I feel like, because people throw that Monday night game in and then they get caught and they don't know the best way to get out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not a big fan of parlays either. There are some circumstances where it makes sense, though. So, I mean, definitely on promos. You might get a good price on a promo.
Yeah. At this rate, every place at least every place I bet as far as promos go, you have to do a parlay. They're not given. I mean, DraftKings will give an occasional straight bet boost, but most of them are not only parlays, but same game parlays, and those are so juiced that you're probably not getting much by the time you put the profit boost back on. You're probably just knocking out the juice they're charging anyway.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's certainly better though to bet with a promo boost than without. But you're right, and that's the direction every sportsbook is going as far as advertising and what they want players to do is they want parlays because they know it makes them the most money.
Yep. And I would love to know, like, I think I surround myself or talk to the most people that are like yourself and like myself, where we have a specific way to approach the sports books and we pay the price for it with limits. But I would love to know the percentage of money they get that is just from the recreational, strictly parlay bettors that are, and not that there's anything wrong with that if they're just having fun and doing it for that. But I mean, do you have a guess at a percentage of what it would be?
I would say probably 75% or more are getting their money from recreational bettors, because the professional bettors and the advantage players are getting kicked off the sports books. So
yeah,
that's probably the only thing that's left is recreational bettors.
Yep. I was going to say 75 also. So yeah. Any questions? We got a couple viewers in here. A couple. Anybody have any questions? Sports betting. Anything you want to ask either of us? Anything that's on your mind? Any bets you like tonight? anything.
Should I get my tips ready for
Yeah,
tonight? I
you
have a
may as
couple of
well.
West Coast games still left. I'm not really a tout, though, to be honest. But
Yeah, I explored it on this page. I losing a bet is hard enough for me, but losing a bet that I told other people to bet, knowing that they may have also lost, is significantly worse. So it almost just, I will do Dinger Tuesday when that comes around.
mm-hmm.
Is that how did you say you found my channel? Was it Dinger Tuesday or was it something unrelated?
No, it was actually the video I saw first was the video you did on the truth about EV betting,
Okay.
which is I first said to myself, yeah, he's just thinking just like I do on this, and that's what got me interested in your channel. And then I've probably watched every single video since then.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Everybody must know everything about sports betting. There's no, or they don't trust us to give them a good answer because we got no questions here.
No.
Well, at least tell the two bowling pin story because that is
Okay.
that.
So behind me are two bowling pins and my bowling trophies. I was a pretty good bowler back in the 90s. And I had one night where I was especially good and was on a 300 pace. Now in bowling, for those that don't know, there are up to 12 strikes to get a 300 game, which is a perfect game. And I had at that point thrown 11. And I have to admit that I choked because the pressure really isn't on until you're trying to throw that last strike. And I get up there, did the best I can, but I threw that ball right on top of the head pin and ended up with a 7-10 split. That means 2 pins are remaining. And bowled a 298 instead of a 300. And I was pissed. And I said, God damn it, I want those 2 pins. And as luck would have it, the owner of the bowling alley was sitting nearby and heard me say that. And he goes, yeah, sure. Okay, I'll let you have those 2 pins. And he ran down the gutter and he grabbed those 2 pins. Those are the exact 2 pins I missed. And he gave them to me and he said, good game. And I asked him, I said, can I give you something for these? This is great. And he said, no, we don't get that, even that many 298s in here. So they're yours. And, they're kind of beat up pins. I don't think he's really like missing out on anything that was all that great, really. But it was very nice of him to do that.
Have you been close to 300 since?
No. I'd say 250s probably was my best game after that point. Part of me, I wanted to give up on bowling, to be honest, after that point.
Yeah, I can understand that feeling of climbing all the way up and then not getting it.
So I use it as a reminder of what is possible and how close you can come sometimes.
298 is great. I've never bowled over 200. So, yeah, I always had the problem. My thumb was always too big for small weights, but I was always too weak to lift heavier balls. So I always struggled with bowling because it's like my thumb would only fit in the heavier balls. And when I would bowl as a kid, I didn't like playing with those. So I enjoy bowling is, I enjoy it enough, but I'd rather play pool or ping pong or mini golf or nearly all the other, what would you call those type of activities, sports?
Recreational.
Yeah. Okay, Steve. Welcome, Steve. He says, have you started building any models yet? By the way, I'm still stuck teaching. Congrats to you and your wife on getting out. Thank you. I hate that we're in a place where we have to look at it as getting out. And I know some states are better than others. Some district schools are better than others, worse than others. But yeah, it's sad that that's where some people feel they are. So Steve, hang in there. I have no advice because any advice that I was given about teaching, I couldn't take myself. It's hard to unlearn how you just are wired. So I appreciate your service. We'll say that. Building models. I'll give my piece of information on this, and then I'll let Boomer Betts go if he's got anything to add. I would say that I can sometimes come up with really good ideas in my head for model building. I can think about specifically, I think there is opportunity in same game parlays. And since books are pushing those, and it's really all I can bet anymore in terms of volume, at least on FanDuel, the way that same game parlays are calculated, I am interested in coming up with some sort of something that I can apply to that. So, that's kind of where my brain is at now. And I wouldn't say that I've come up with any models, but my struggle with models is I either one, can't get the information or the data that I think is needed to build the model. And then if I were to have the information, getting it to a position where I feel like I have an actual edge, I think is something that I would struggle with because, let's say I build a model and it says, the fair value of what's tonight's game? Minnesota and LA. What's LA? Minus, are they 6.5 point favorites? Something like that, right? If my model says Lakers should be favored by 9.5, I'm the type of person who's going to be like, ooh, so is 6.5 for the Lakers a good bet, or is my model wrong? I don't feel equipped to build a model that is strong enough that I would even trust it, if that makes any sense. I just think models are truly, building something that you can consistently beat multi-billion-dollar companies that have all the data and have all the resources. That's hard. Now, I think there's handicapping and angles and situations that are a case-by-case basis that, I'm not saying the books aren't beatable, but I do not have the ability right now. I know people who can build models, and I'll talk to them, and I'll throw them an idea out at them, and they will be honest with me and things like that. But I think model building at its truest, purest form is a very difficult task for most people. Boomer, any thoughts?
Yeah, couple of things. One is, I agree. It's hard to build models that way. Although they're getting a lot of new tools out there in the world, and with AI starting to really generate different applications, that might also be something that might be a game changer in the future. It is very hard to beat the books, other than finding mistakes or outliers and things like that. And I think that's where you can still make some decent amount of money. That's really what positive EV betting is. So you're trying to find inefficiencies in the market. But to really make money from a model, I think you're talking about really just trying to figure out basically handicapping, what sports handicappers do, and is the Lakers going to hold on and not beat the spread, or just is the Timberwolves going to take the money line tonight? If you can figure that out with some kind of efficiency based on a model, you might have a chance of making some money there. But I really don't think you're going to be able to find that your odds are any better or any worse than the sports books are.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I'll add is, and that kind of relates to Steve's next little comment I'll read. It seems impossible, yet you hear so many people proclaiming their edges out there, particularly in smaller markets. I don't know. At least sounds like a challenge. Summer's off, the one benefit. Yes, summer's off, great. Spring break, fall break. Occasional Monday off, a little federal holiday. Yes, those are good parts of teaching. It's sad when you have to look forward to your days off. But yeah, I do think that there may be edges out there for smaller markets. I think sports like baseball, college basketball, maybe, people say the college basketball market's inefficient or more inefficient than some pro. But I think if anyone wants to model, and this is my advice, and I'm not saying it's even correct, but if somebody is interested in modeling, I think you start with baseball, because if you want to look at last year's data, there are 100 and how many games did they play? 160, 140,
162.
162. There's a lot of games out there, and teams don't change. I maybe shouldn't say that. Maybe it is an incorrect statement. I feel as if when compared to the NFL and things, like a starting third baseman versus a starting quarterback being traded and swapping in and out, I don't think changes the game as much, right? So the movements in baseball are less impactful over the long run than the movements in football. And what's horrible for, I think, the public is, I would imagine that the NFL is the most bet sport, which also helps the line become sharper. There's one for you. Sharper. Helps the line become sharper because more money is coming in, but I would not try to model the NFL. I don't think a traditional model is something you can really do in the NFL. Handicapping it, sure. Looking at edges, looking at injuries, looking at weather, you can go game by game, but as far as coming up with a model, I'm sure it's done, but I'm a little unaware. Okay, all for the dough. How do you identify a trap line or error line? Okay, so if you're still listening, all for the dough, do you mean, like, some people will say there's a trap line out there, meaning, I guess I'm looking for clarification. Do you know what I'm saying, Boomer? Like, people will be like, oh, that side's a trap, but it's not an error. It's just like the book is putting a number out there that is trying to draw action, but it's not an actual error. Okay, so here's your example, all for the dough. I guess to answer the error line, it's pretty simple. If there is a line that is significantly different from the other offerings on a sports book, one that you look at and you say, what? Like, that is wrong. That would be what I would say is an error line, but I'm not sure that's what you're asking. So if you can give me a little more information, or Boomer, you take a shot at it.
Well, I agree with him trying to figure out exactly what he's looking for too, but I would say to quantify it, if you're looking at an odds comparison, if you're seeing that one book is maybe 15 or 20% higher in an EV play than all the other books, it's probably either a trap or an error. I mean, what I'm looking for in positive EV play is I'm looking for things that are just a little bit off, gives me maybe a 4 or 5% advantage. Anything over than that, somebody's made a mistake somewhere.
Yeah. And so I guess, or where the line is off or wrong.
I think you're talking about spreads there, where the line is off.
Okay. Or are you talking literally about how do you know, like using a tool, like using an odds screener, is that maybe what you mean? Like, it's hard to just open up your sports book and find them. It's going to be nearly impossible to open up your sports book and say, where, is this an error line? Is this a trap line? It's very rare that you will find those. So if you're asking how do you identify them? Like, literally, you got to use, any number of tools, Avo, OddsView, OddsJam, Dark Horse, any of those things. Gerald, I hit 23 out of 25 legs, 36, 742, 46, 2022. I missed by one of more since for 2 years straight. You think the book's got my number? Gerald, what are you saying, Gerald? You had a 25-leg parlay paying 36,000 to 1?
Well, maybe took a lot of favorites.
I've hit about 4 of them, only hundreds of dollars. Steve, do you think guys on Twitter who we may tail fudge EV percentages? Okay. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Boomer, you go first.
All right. There's many ways to fudge. Let me put it that way. One favorite trick I've seen is where people will, especially on straight bets, will bet both sides, kind of like an arb play or a low hold play, so they're not losing that much money or even make little. And then they only print out the slip that won. And they go, look at all these bets that I won last night, when they do that 7 or 8 times. That's certainly one way to fudge your success rate.
Yeah. As far as not even success rate, just as like how valuable a line is, which I don't know, maybe is that what you're asking, Steve? Just how like, oh, this is a 15% EV play, it's a must bet, that kind of thing. I've talked about this a lot, and it's gotten me in trouble in some of the communities because I like to say it's just a cautious approach to EV betting. But I think early on, and I think things have gotten better, but early on, people were so dead set on specific books being the beacon, or like sharp, like pinnacle, circa. And I'm not saying that those books aren't sharp, right? They take a lot of action, the market follows them, that kind of thing. But if you want to know my honest opinion, I think some of the EV guys out there are gambling. I don't want to say addict. I think they enjoy gambling. And if they can, justify that they're getting value, they can get more action, and action is adrenaline, and adrenaline is potentially joy or maybe just a rush in general. So I do think that sometimes we see EV percentages that aren't necessarily as accurate as maybe they could be, or what I would score them, rate them. And that's why I think, and I've said this a couple of times in my videos, is get in the habit of, if you're serious about this stuff, trying to price your own lines, because even if you're wrong, you will feel better about making a bet. Right? If I'm going to lose a bet, I at least need to know why I made the bet and if the bet was comfortable. Like I talked about with my Derek Lively, just awful, bad beat, right? If you didn't check it out, I just posted a video today. DraftKings hung a line on Derek Lively to not hit a three-pointer in last NBA Finals. He had shot 2 all year. He had not hit any. He has not taken one since. That night, he hit it. It was minus 600, so it was an 86% chance, right? That is a great bet. For a player who shot 2 threes all year, you're getting a 15% chance that he hits one. Yeah, I'll say it's much less than that. It's probably a 1 or 2%. Well, the 1 or 2% found me. So while it sucks that I lost $900, I know that was the right bet to make. Now, I can pull back from that and say, well, was it really the right bet to make? Should you have, blah, blah, blah. But mathematically, it was the right bet to make. So I think you have to both trust the EV percentages, but I also don't think a high EV number necessarily should just be this green flag that says, okay, go ahead and bet it. I am of the belief that if there is a plus EV play that I like, I'll play. If there's a plus EV play, especially if it's like 1 or 2, it's 1.8% EV. Well, I don't like the play anyway. So is that value worth it to me? Especially if when it loses, I'm going to say I knew it wasn't going to hit, right? Like that kind of thing. I just think there's a little more psychology that could be built in to the EV world, but they're strictly math guys for the most part. So that's my frustration in that category. Steve, did you just do that to get me riled up? You said I knew you'd like this one. You're baiting me here.
I would add to that one thing, or a couple things about EV plays is that, first of all, when I do it as close to game time as possible, because lines move, even Pinnacle and FanDuel lines move, which are many people, for them, are a source of truth. So if those lines are moving, well, my source of truth just moved then. So at least let me try to bet something close to game time where I know that if whatever I'm using for my source of truth, it's not going to move on me. I lost my train of thought on the other point I was going to make, but it'll come back maybe.
Well, I think it's also good if you can wait that long for your account health. You know, betting closer to the tip-off or the kickoff is going to make you look more recreational, less sharp. Even if you're getting a good line, I think books look favorably upon last-minute bets, depending on the value. Is there a specific source or person you like to get information from? That's a great question.
Well, should I give you the standard answer that most people will say?
Yeah, you go ahead.
For mainline bets, that would be, money line and spread and totals and things like that. The standard is usually Pinnacle. And for things like player props and other prop bets, most people say to look at FanDuel. Now, that's just kind of a blanket statement. That's not anything that should be written in stone, and you should always look at other places where you can. But that's kind of the general rule of thumb, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, all for the dough. To follow up, I think just the sources, quote unquote, that I would use are a service that provides access to all the odds in one place. You've heard of them all: OddsU, Avo, OddsJam, Dark Horse, those kind of things. Because if 8 books are at a minus 110 for a line, and the 9th book is at plus 115, it's going to be slim marginal value, but over time it's pretty decent value. You should make money betting a 50-50 prop at plus 115, So as far as a source, I would say that specific people, I'm very hesitant on people, especially right now with everybody online trying to prove something to you about how much they bet and how much they win. I think there's just a lot of cloudiness out there. So I will say I've met people through Discords that I've been in since I started this, who know things. Scoreboard don't lie. Good to see you. Who know things. And so I still keep in touch with them, but I mean, all of those guys, all of us, our limits are. I just got a message from one of the Discord guys that he was the first guy. I mean, the first night that I got in here. This is how I got started. I joined a Discord, and it was an arbitrage Discord, and they had arbs coming through, but I met this guy who seemed to know what he was talking about the first night, and I messaged him, and he showed me how he was tracking all his plays, and I modeled my tracking sheet for the next 4 years after how this guy did it, and he just sent me a message saying that DraftKings banned, done, cannot log in. They took all his crowns away. He had something I don't even want to tell you how many dollars worth of crowns he had. It'll make you throw up, worse than my bad beats video. I mean, it was, and he can't. They just said, we've made the decision to close your account. So it's anybody that I would talk to about this, that I had kind of built a relationship with, they kind of are having to stop doing it because of the limits. So, yeah, that's kind of a tough spot to be in. Steve, I've heard you talk about this, but I look at these lines on ESPN or Odds. Can't find anything. That a plus EV play magically appears on Twitter. Yeah, Steve, don't get me. Why are you getting me started? Why are you getting me started? And if you go to those people, they're probably selling something. They probably have something where you can subscribe to their service. It's just advertising, and it's frustrating because they're posting a play that's not available for the masses. And what that does for the masses is say, "Oh, this isn't available. I missed it. Right? I'm missing out on money. How do I get this great value, this money? Oh, I join your Discord, I join your WAP, I join your Dub Club, I join your whatever service. I'm going to pay you monthly now." And then once you pay a monthly, you realize you still got to be quick to these lines. You still have to be on your game, and you may miss them from the Discord. So, yeah, that is frustrating when people just brag about post stuff they have on Twitter that nobody can get to. Yeah, it's all marketing.
And by the way, the touts on Discord, their first thought is not, "Oh, let me get this on the Discord right away." They're getting their play down, and then they might be posting it 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour later, and now the odds are totally different.
Yep. Yeah, and this was not something that was common even 2 years ago. 2 years ago, an EV line on what would have been Barstool at that time, not ESPN, but a Barstool, I'd have time to bet the play, screenshot the play, send it to 8 of my friends, send it to the Discord, do a load of laundry, come back, and it might still be out. But now, I got to a point, and my wife can attest to this, and that's not a good thing, where I was so chronically on my phone that, an alert should come through for an ARB. Boom, I'd have one app with my face open. Boom, the other app, I'm on. Boom, I'm on as fast as what I believe to be humanly possible for the time. And now that, it doesn't always seal the deal. Now there's some books that are slower and you can still get in there. But books have gotten faster, and it's a hard reality.
One thing I would add, if you do want to tail someone, I'm not going to suggest names, but the method of getting those picks is there are a lot of live streams out there of people doing their picks in real time. So if you can hook up with something like that, they're on YouTube, they're on private feeds, there's a lot of them out there, but at least you've got a fighting chance of getting that same odds that tout is giving you.
Yeah, and that's where I'll not speak up for modeling and handicapping, but the advantage of modeling and handicapping is you are setting your own line, so you have more time. Like, a line's not going to die based on your model. If you think a minus 110 is good because you have it priced at minus 150, the minus 110 is going to be there no matter, how many people bet it, unless, sharp action comes in, bunch of money, whatever. But for the most part, if you can create your own lines and you can determine your own fair value, then you don't have to stress over the downside of the plus EV, which is you got to be fast, and you're probably going to get limited. But it's equally hard the other way, and trying to come up with a model and being sharp. Scoreboard don't lie. Come on, chime in here. I know you got a question. Yeah, that's why you want to explore models. I get it. I would say you got baseball coming up. Here's what I will actually. Here's a small piece of advice, Steve, and maybe I'm not the one to give it, but I'm going to give it anyway. I think there is value in focusing first on a team. So I don't know if you like baseball, but if you're here and you're talking sports betting, I'm going to imagine you have at least a marginal interest in the sport. Figure out a team that you want to follow. It could be your favorite team. It could be your local team. It could be any team, Dodgers, whatever. Figure out a team and study that team. Figure out what's their batting order. What are their rotations like? How many times are certain people getting, just learn a team. I do, the Seahawks are my favorite team. I feel so comfortable betting Seahawks games. Yankees, of course. There you go. Okay. Because I understand Tyler Lockett's role to the offense. I watch every game. I read the art. Like, I know what Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to do during the game more than I know what, Jamar Chase is going to do, right? So if you want to model, maybe scale it back and say, I need to model a team. I need to figure out what the Yankees' strengths and weaknesses are, what players are doing. Does who'd they get? They get Cody Bellinger. Does he hit righties as well as lefties? Typically hit right, that kind of thing. Focus on one team, and then see if you can develop trends there, and then just start expanding. That would be my maybe wrong advice.
No, I think that's good advice. Although I'm not sure betting on your favorite team is a great idea, but try to keep that as unemotional as possible.
Sure. Yes.
But
I usually bet them to lose.
Let you know. Absolutely.
What are your favorite sports to bet, Boomer? If you had to, EV aside, just strictly, what do you feel most confident betting on?
My expertise, I guess, for one sport would be hockey, as you can see on the top shelf there. I've actually been a season ticket holder for a number of years for an NHL team, so I kind of know that sport inside and out. And yeah, it is definitely because have such knowledge of it, I feel more comfortable making plays in that field. So that's why I'm agreeing with you is start with what you know. Pick a sport that you like and you have some knowledge in and dig deep into it. You should do a lot better than just trying to do something at random.
Yeah. So are you someone who can look at, do you do props for hockey or do you just stick to main lines?
Both. I've actually had some successful goal scorers, mainly because, especially the top goal scorers, they don't have many droughts. So you could actually pick somebody that's hot, especially, and ride them for 2, 3, 4 games. And even if they lose, just roll it to the next one. They're going to get you that goal eventually. And goal odds are pretty good. I mean, you can get, even on top players, get plus 150, plus 160 for a particular game.
Yeah, I don't bet a ton of hockey outside of just promos. FanDuel will give, and DraftKings will give some promos. And I've been shocked at, even 2 goal scorers on the same team, in a heavy favored matchup, something that shouldn't be paying, I think, as much as it is, sometimes can be 20, 30 to 1. And maybe I should explore that more. But yeah, I think goal scorers are kind of similar to home run hitters in some ways in terms of odds and things like that. And really, probably makes sense because you get how many goals in a hockey game? 6?
Yeah, average is about 5 or 6, yeah.
6, yeah. So maybe a little less than, maybe baseball's a little less, maybe 3.5 in a baseball game for home runs. But I don't know much about sports betting. First time I ever used that much money. Is that the Pinocchio? I don't know much about sports betting. What the Pinocchio knows? I think Pinocchio Day was 2 days ago. It popped up on my computer. I didn't know we had a Pinocchio Day. We have a day for everything, but you know everything about sports betting, Scoreboard. Come on. And you're excited for MLB. I know that you're a home run guy.
By the way, baseball is one of the probably best sports for modeling because there is so much data out there, going back to like 1900. If you want to back test your models, it's amazing what's out there for that.
Put Boomer Bet's link in the pinned comments. It's hard to find his channel.
That's because I don't have one.
He doesn't have one. He's off the grid.
You can reach me though on Twitter. I'm at the Boomer Bets. Boomer singular and Bets plural.
Right here.
And,
here's his tracked plays.
You'll have me back and you'll be able to see me again on this channel.
Yeah. I mean, it says we got 48 views. I thought we might get 8. So that's 40 more than I thought. But I like the questions. The questions make it easier.
Good questions too.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for baseball. I'll bet the NBA, but I hope books. I'm not optimistic that they'll come in with some good promos, but I like to think that when sports calendars kind of switch over, new sports come in, they're trying to attract customers. Any word on if Dinger Tuesday is coming back? Excited to see one of your videos real time. Mitch, what do you mean real time? You weren't here for the Dinger Tuesday? If not, that's okay. Welcome. I have not heard if Dinger Tuesday is coming back. I am optimistic that because it has always come back, even last year when it looked like it wasn't going to come back and then it did, that FanDuel surely can accept the hit they take to their bottom line for that promo. I think it's one of the most popular ones. So I'd like to talk NHL sometime with Boomer Bets. Okay, Scoreboard, sure. We can have you on here. You got any questions right now? But Mitch, I'm going to say Dinger Tuesday coming back, 80% chance of happening. That's what I would set it at. Now, the last 2 years, they've changed the rules. Used to be you could bet every game and get a max of 25 back per game. It was amazing. And then it was you get a max of $50 back. So it was, kind of pick and choose how many games you wanted to play. I played about 3 to 4. And then last year, I think it was just you could only play one game, or maybe it was 25. So they've nerfed it. I found your channel a month ago. Oh, thank you, Mitch. Thank you. And let me know. I'm always open to ideas. I'm not gonna promise, but if you have any questions, I said at the new year I was gonna kind of trickle away from sports betting and go more towards sports, and then I've done a lot of sports betting content, but I think I've gone away from picks, which is really where I feel I like talking about sports betting, but giving out picks, I realize is not in my soul.
There's so many people who do that too. So
right.
I'm not interested in really doing that either, but I'm happy to advise people on what to look for.
Scoreboard, do you have a question for Boomer about NHL? Because I'm not an NHL guy.
I'll give you a futures pick.
Okay, yes, why not? Yeah.
Just it's that team on the top shelf. Washington Capitals have won something like 18 out of the last 19 games. And Ovechkin is on fire, and he wants to get that goal-scoring record this year. And I think they're about 4th or 5th down the Stanley Cup list right now. I think Edmonton and Florida and a couple other teams are ahead of them. So I would, for a Stanley Cup pick, I would think they're a good value right now.
Do you know what the price is?
I can look it up.
Okay, I was going to quiz you because I'm looking it up.
Oh.
I was gonna test you here.
You have to race you, and you're probably ahead of me.
Team futures, Stanley Cup. What's the President's Trophy? Can you explain
President's Trophy is the best record in the regular season, which they might get as well. Actually, I think they're second or even first. They're like a point within with Winnipeg for that race. That's also a good bet, I think. Especially with Ovechkin trying to score goals.
Yeah.
They also have a very favorable home versus away ratio for the rest of the season. They got a lot of home games.
Yeah, Winnipeg and Capitals are both plus 100, and then Dallas is plus 2,200. So it looks like it's going to be a two-team race.
Yeah.
So they are 11-1 to win the Stanley Cup. You like that number, 11-1?
Yeah, I do. Don't bet the house on it, people, but I like the number.
I didn't realize Dallas was that good.
Also, Winnipeg is doing a lot more traveling. There's no team close to them, while half of Washington's games, they could probably take the bus. So, another bonus there.
Winnipeg is on a W11?
111 in a row, I think he's saying.
See, I couldn't even tell you a Winnipeg Jets player. Is that bad?
No, you don't have to know every sport.
What about, is there that one guy, Mark
Shifley, who I believe is with Columbus now. He used to be with Winnipeg.
Okay.
This is quickly turning into the NHL show, but
No, I just know from simply scrolling and trying to find a goal scorer for my promos. This is what I.
yeah. And one last piece of the Capitals puzzle is they're well rested because they had absolutely nobody participating in the Four Nations tournament. That wore a lot of guys out. I think Florida is going to do a nosedive because they had 7 players in that tournament, and they probably didn't get any rest whatsoever.
Do you think he's going to reach his goal?
Well, certainly if he keeps going as he's going now, he's probably going to get the next 10 games. And he's got, I think, 23 left now, 22. So, yeah, he only needs 12 more.
Okay. Wow, you can even bet at.
Can you bet on that? Can you bet on which game he hits it? I don't know.
Probably. I was going to say you can bet on the type of goal, even strength, power play, or shorthanded. And you can bet if it will be an empty net goal.
It will not be an empty net goal because that just won't go over well with people. That he breaks the record on an empty net goal. It won't happen.
You like no at minus 530. You can get it on FanDuel.
Okay.
You really think that?
Yeah. No, because he will have to intentionally do that, and I don't see him doing that. Not for the tie-breaking goal.
Wow. My limits are pretty big. I'm not going to look at it anymore because I'm actually shocked that FanDuel's letting me get that much down.
Yeah. Well, once he does it, we'll see who's right. But I think I'm right about that. Although the last game with Edmonton, that they literally gave him the puck and said, "Here, put it in the net." So there are some teams actually helping for some reason. And Edmonton is strange to do that because Gretzky was on the Oilers for a long time. So
when you say they gave it to him, what do you mean? Like they let him score?
Well, the score was 6-3 with about 3 minutes left, and they pulled the goalie, which is unheard of in hockey.
Huh.
2 goals, maybe 3 goals. You're pulling the goalie. It doesn't happen unless you're like, your season's over if you don't come back in the game.
Right. So they pulled the goalie and then he scored 1.
Yep. Well, he had 3 that game. That was the 3rd one. Yeah, he had a hat trick.
Are teams really that nice? Like, is that a thing that?
I mean, he got the puck by the other team, fanned on a shot. His stick broke, so maybe it was just luck. But just the fact that they pulled the goalie
that early,
that was a gift, I think, in my view.
Yeah. How many shorthanded goals does he have this year? Do you know?
I'm not sure he plays a little bit. I'm having your problems now. Plays on the power play kill. So I don't think he has many, or maybe he has 1.
Okay.
He's not out there for killing penalties anymore.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't know the nuances of hockey like that. I didn't know there were specific people who were and were not on those type of situations.
Yeah. So if I would choose, it would be a regular goal or a power play goal.
Okay. But not an empty net.
No.
Okay.
He'd probably pass on purpose before putting an empty net goal to break the record. I'm telling you.
Okay. How many games are left in the regular season?
I think 22 for Washington.
Okay. So he's just got to score 1 every other game.
Yep. And he's been doing that since the beginning of the year.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think we killed that topic.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else? Shout out.
Scoreboard came in with this big NHL talk, and I guess he really wants to talk to you about it. He doesn't want to type it about it. He just wants to. So if hockey's your first, then what would be your second sport of comfort? Football. Eagles.
Yeah. So it was a good year. Made money too on that Super Bowl.
Did you have prior to the Super Bowl, or did you just take them in the Super Bowl? Like a future on them?
I bet on them for the reasons I was just talking about. Is I feel like my emotions are going to cloud my judgment as far as that's concerned. But on the Super Bowl, I had a pretty good position on them and took the money line, and was very comfortable for most of the game at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it makes people upset, but I remember the Seahawks beating Denver, whatever it was, 46-6 or 47-10 or 47-6 or whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the team and it's a blowout in the Super Bowl, I got no problems with that.
Yep.
And
I made a map of who enjoyed the Super Bowl, and it was a red map of the United States with a little green dot next to Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There were so many people against the Chiefs and kind of tired of them, myself included, that I was fine with the result and the game. I enjoyed watching it. Now, I'm not a big tush-push guy. I hope that the competition committee or whatever they are, and I may be talking to the wrong guy here, but when you beat the game, when the game is solved, it's not a good game, and they've solved it. And I don't know. I hate it. I hate it. They're going to get 2 yards. I mean, they can get 2-3 yards every play.
Well, that's true, and I don't even disagree with you, although I personally love it because my team does it the best of anyone. But how do you legislate it out? What is the rule going to be? You can't push a player anymore? Then nobody's ever going to be able to block. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah. Unless they make it. Have they said what they're going to do? Have they even mentioned ideas? I haven't seen anything.
I haven't heard any either.
Because even if he's not getting pushed, I still feel like they are going to be able to get 2 and 3 yards every time.
Well, that's just blocking. And if you can't keep yourself from being pushed back on a block, then that's on you. I'm sorry.
Right. No, I know. I agree. But it's like their center's just like, I don't know. They're doing something under there. But yeah, maybe we start with nobody can push. Boomer bets. Here we go. Do you also find it more difficult betting the NHL in January or February?
I find it harder to bet at the beginning of the season and right after a break like we just had, because I want to see how the teams are coming back from an extended break. Usually the break is for All-Star is only a few days and doesn't matter as much, but they're off for a good week and a half this year. So I think, and again, I said that some teams had a lot of players in that tournament, some had none. So I would want to wait maybe a week or so more before I start really laying a lot of NHL bets down, just to see how the teams came back. But January is fine. I don't really, there's enough games under the belt to be able to determine how certain teams are doing.
Yeah, I agree with just the idea of beginning of the years are tougher. Scoreboard, yes. What's your thoughts on January, February? Why is that difficult for you, or is it not difficult for you? Steve, Commander said the ultimate troll and the ref said they were behaving badly. Yeah, they were just going to award the Eagles a touchdown if they jumped offsides again.
I just thought it was hysterical. Yeah, that they were gonna award a touchdown, which is in the rules. I looked it up. They can award them a touchdown for patently misbehaving, basically.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would have jumped over again, just so I could have seen it be done. I wonder, who would they award it to? Would they award it to a player, or would they just?
I don't think anybody gets credit for it as far as sports betting is concerned. They just put the points on the board, so it would count towards a total and a spread. That would be even more funny, but right. I don't think it counts towards a player.
Right. I like the first 3 months, and I find betting sides in January, February, there can be no rhyme or reason, unpredictable. You guys need to team up. I mean, this is perfect.
Well, yeah, you cover the first 3 months, and I'll cover the rest of the season, and we'll make some money.
Scoreboard, you just need to wait for baseball. It's coming soon. Don't worry about January, February right now. give us some stock advice. Because he does some investment stuff on his channel, and then wait for into March, and then you'll be good.
I can give you my one baseball tip.
Let's hear it.
It's something I'm still modeling too, so I wouldn't say anybody go out and, again, bet the farm on this, but there is a particular bet on DraftKings that is whether or not the home team will bat in the bottom of the ninth. And if you compare that number to the visiting team's money line, they are usually separated apart. If you think of it as an ARB, you're usually about 5 or 6% apart in your favor. So if you think about it, the only way you would lose if you bet on the visitors to win and the home team not to bat in the ninth is if the home team comes from behind in the bottom of the ninth or extra innings to win the game. So I researched that, and I'm still back testing it, but all the data I have says that happens about 4 or 5% of the time in a season. So if you can get 6, 7, 8% on your ARB, to me that might work. But
Yeah,
I'm still looking at that.
Funny enough, that was something that I played Caesars 2 years ago, 3 years ago, was consistently generous with their offerings on no side of bat in the bottom of the ninth. I haven't seen DraftKings lines. I haven't looked at it in a while. But yeah, I was kind of interested in that idea, and I think I had a little bit of luck with Caesars. And then the problem is small wins, and then if it loses, it's losing both sides, and it's losing big. So,
yeah, I put that caveat in. It's basically pure math. It doesn't mean it's going to work, but
right.
Numbers say it does.
Beginning of the year in MLB, I do better on money line underdogs around first week of June, then picks up in late August. I meant to say underdogs slow up first week of June. Yeah. Baseball is one of those sports where and it just could be anecdotal and just I'm remembering it because I'm thinking about it before, but I just feel like underdogs win in baseball frequently. I think a lot of lines are dictated around the starting pitchers, which makes sense, but pitcher gets pulled in the fourth inning. There's still 5 more innings for the other team if they got a better bullpen. So I know it's all priced in, but yeah, I think money can be really made in the underdogs for money line betting MLB.
I would agree with that. The things about dominant pitching is it doesn't seem that dominant at the beginning of the year, even when the pitchers who you expect to be really great. I've never seen many pitchers come out firing on April 1.
Yeah. Yeah. What about golf? You do any golf betting?
No, I don't do that. I can't know everything. I don't have the patience for it, to be honest. First of all, it's 4 rounds. Usually you're betting on somebody to win a tournament. You got to wait through 4 days worth of results to find out if you won or not.
Yep.
There's lots of prop bets out there, I know, but if you're doing something, pretty standard, it takes a while to get your results.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm drawn to the price on some of the people.
Are you doing kind of head-to-heads or what are you doing?
I don't do a ton of head-to-heads. I have before, but I like to take long shot guys, top 10, top 20. I mean, sometimes you can get plus 200, plus 300 on guys that I think fit well. There's a guy called Rick Rungood on YouTube.
Good name.
That has, I mean, he does modeling. Steve, I don't know if you're here. He's built this model. It is nuts. You can actually go to Google if you want that's the other thing about modeling. It's like nowadays you can probably you do some research, and it's probably worth your time more to pay for a model in some. I mean, like Ballpark Pal may not be the best model, but it can give you an idea, and it's something, and it's like Ballpark Pal's $10 a month for baseball, which I think is very affordable at this point in where we are in the sports betting data world. But Rick Rungood with his golf model. But anyway, he makes a video where he kind of walks through what he's, walks through the course. He knows tons about golf. But I'll use that, and I'll kind of take some things that he's saying. So yeah, a lot of times, he'll model out a guy that's projected, as the 50th, 60th best odds, but he's got him as the third best golfer. And I've had a lot of success kind of picking and choosing from those guys. So that'd be my resource suggestion if you ever want to do any golf. He mentioned both Jake Knapp and Daniel Berger, who are 1 and 2 right now. I mean, we got 3 more days to go, but so far he was onto something. Do you bet any college football? He wants to know.
Some. More towards, again, end of season and playoffs rather than at the beginning. That's kind of my rule, really, in general with sports. I like teams to have a few games under their belt, at least, before I start putting money in places. So I did some playoff bets. Did okay with it only because it was mostly chalk the whole tournament. I mean, the teams that were expected to win won, especially in the first rounds. So nothing really earth-shattering or any insight I can give other than it seemed to hold course pretty well, which, to be honest, was a little boring.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? What I might do, give a little final call for any questions. We can think about wrapping up. We don't want to drag it on too long. We're going to run out of things to discuss here. 62 total views, 14 concurrent viewers. I don't know what that means. I don't know if 14 people are actively sitting there with it open.
At least at one time they were.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's right now.
Will you type a question and see how long the takes? Do you have it up?
I do. There, just hit it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's instant. We got no more questions. Okay, well, again, this was our first go at it. A little live show. Maybe something we continue to do. It sounds like Scoreboard would love to get on here and chat. We could probably work something out in that capacity. Do you ever place a bet and not watch?
All the time. Mostly I don't watch.
I'm not good at not watching, Mitch. Even if I'm not watching, I'm checking the box score. This is what I'm trying to work on for 2025 is the bets are going to be what the bets are going to be. And I don't need to give my emotional energy towards them because in some ways it's wasted emotional energy because it's what's going to happen is going to happen. I've already made the bet. The cost is already sunk. Let's not worry about it. I still, again, I roll over in the morning. I look at my phone and I see if I have, if there's a specific player I need, I check the box scores. And I recognize that's not healthy and I'm trying to be better. So do I always watch? Not necessarily, but I am typically keeping track. And as crazy as this sound, even of ARBs. I mean, even when I knew one side would win, but if one side was going to win a little more, hey, I'd see which. It's not healthy. This is not a good thing, Mitch. This is bad. So my advice to you that I can't take for myself or to anyone is once you place the bet, any emotion you feel afterwards is kind of wasted because you've made the decision to place the bet. You believe it's a good bet. Hopefully you believe it's a good bet. Hopefully you believe it has value. Leave the rest to where it is. You will be happier. But I can't even do that. I'm still and not tracking every day has helped me. I used to wake up in the mornings, track all my bets from previously. I would screenshot every bet I would place. I'd screenshot it, and then I'd go through. And some days, when I was arbing, heavy, 60, 70 messages, and I'm typing them all in one by one by one. And so I would hyperfixate on all the losses, all the wins, and that kind of thing, and it would take a lot of time. So my tracking now is just weekly. And that was my goal. I'd do it maybe every other 3 or 4 days, but I'm getting better at having some more time come through. So do as I say, not as I do. I spend more time looking at live bet updates in college basketball than watching the game, which is on another monitor. Yeah. Definitely live bet updates, game box score, that kind of thing. Definitely.
The only thing I would add to that is I guess it depends on kind of what kind of bettor you are. I kind of rank people into like 4 different buckets, and not that one's any worse or better than the other. It's just how I categorize it. The first is the recreational bettor, and that's people who are betting without a specific goal in mind. They just want to bet on an event and they think it's going to win and they bet on it and they root for it, and that's great. And I think those people should watch it. I think that's what makes the game exciting and makes your bet exciting. It's to watch it and see if it comes out or not. After that, there's what I call the side hustle bettor. It's a person who is a little more invested in the plus and minuses of their bets and are trying to make some side money and get into that. And then after that are the professional bettors, which are actually making a living from it. And then the fourth bucket I call the whales. Those are the guys that you've all heard of that are on VSiN. They're giving out their picks and they're very well known in this industry. So I think if you're a recreational bettor, do watch the games. If you're anything above that, I think you're gonna be miserable watching trying to watch every single bet. I bet, wow, sometimes 80, 90 bets a day when I really get going. I can't invest that time to see how they come out. I'll find out. I have a bet tracker. It lets me know when they've won or lose automatically, so I don't even have to go look them up, and I just see how they do. So that would be my advice on that question.
I think that's great advice. I think that would be the way that makes your life the most enjoyable, less stressful. Absolutely. So, okay. Well, thanks to everyone who came by, stopped by, hung out, asked questions. I'm not going to make any promises about, we do this again when we do this again. We'll figure it out, talk it out. But I had a good time, and hopefully it's helpful in some way. So, any final words, Boomer?
I thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it. It was, I think, a great discussion. Thank you, everybody, for your questions, and I hope we do it again sometime. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, we will. Arthur, you had to throw one more in. I'm fairly novice. Bet on college basketball totals prior to the start and try to see how lines move during the game, trying to see if there would be value in hedging out of a parlay. Arthur, my advice is you're going to hear a lot of advice on that idea. I am one where, again, this kind of goes back to your personal preference. I would tell you there is no, don't be sorry. I love the questions. That's why we're here. I'm just giving you a hard time. You have to do what you believe is best. The math guys are going to tell you never hedge out. You make the bet, You're going to pay extra juice by hedging, right? In the long term, if you let every one of those bets ride, you're going to make, your money. You may not win this one, but you may win the next one, and it'll even out in the long term. My rule is I look at it and I say, okay, how much do I stand to win if I let this ride? How much do I stand to win if I hedge this? How do I feel about winning X? How do I feel about losing Y? I can make $100 guaranteed with a hedge right here. If I don't do this, am I going to be mad that I did not take the $100, that I got greedy and let it ride, right? So I think the best thing you can do, Arthur, is not worry about anyone else except how you feel about it. I think the standard answer is, oh, never hedge. But I think, again, I talk about the psychology of betting a lot. I think there are times where you may be happier, and I'll put it this way, and then I'll let Boomer get the last thought on this. Never have I hedged out of a parlay and said, man, I wish I didn't hedge. I could have won more. I think people do that. I don't do that. But many, 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 many uncountable times have I thought about hedging. I decided to let it ride because I wanted the big win, and then I lose and I say, man, I could have had $100, but I hedged out, or didn't hedge out. I let it ride, right? So I've never been mad I didn't win more, but I have been mad that I lost. That's what I'll say.
Only thing I would add to that is try to decide what you want to do and how you want to be ahead of time, ahead of the bet. If you're more conservative and you want to say, hey, as soon as this bet's going to make me $50 guaranteed, I'm going to hedge out. Well, decide that and then stick to it and do it. If you want to let it ride, then decide that. It's very difficult in the moment to make those kind of decisions, which are going to be full of emotion, and the game's going on, and you start panicking about what do I do? Have a game plan going in. That's my advice.
Yep. And I think a lot of it has to do with my stake on the wager. Like if I have a $10 wager to win 100, I'm more likely to let that ride because I can stomach a $10 loss as opposed to if I have a larger wager and I know I'm going to lose a bigger amount. So, I think it's all case by case. I don't think there's a one size fits all answer. If you are saying you're a conservative bettor and you like to be careful and cautious, hedge out and, don't feel bad about it. I mean, I think there's such a stigma on the cashing out, especially if you're on Twitter, like, oh, this bettor cashed out. Oh, I mean, I saw one, I made a video about it where the guy made like 118 grand or something, like significant money. And they're like, oh, well, he could have won. It's like, I've never seen so many people critical of a guy winning six figures on a sports bet that he, threw together on his lunch break. I don't know. So do what's best for you is what I'm always going to say. All right.
Just remember, for every could have won story, there's a could have lost story too. So.
Right. Yep. Indeed. All right. Well, that is all we got today. But yep. Thanks again, guys. And we will hopefully be back for another live show at some point in